Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and today is Sunday, August 17th in the year 2025. I am here in rainy, thundering Escazú, Costa Rica, and I welcome you to looking at the astrology of the week ahead. I'm going to start with the fact that the moon is going into Cancer tomorrow at 3:05 p.m. Eastern Time. And the reason I'm starting with that is because it's doing something very nice. It is moving into its own sign with the blessings of Venus and Jupiter. So this is really lovely. They are going to be together for the next several days. Once they move in, it moves in tomorrow. It's going to meet with Jupiter first on Tuesday in the late evening or late afternoon, 6:02 p.m. Eastern Time, and then move and conjunct Venus 8:27 a.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday, the 20th. So this is great. And the reason I want to spend some time with this is because we've had so much energy of Venus and Jupiter being together in Jupiter's exaltation, and Venus meeting with Jupiter and still very close to Jupiter. And now the moon is going to grace them with her presence. And this is lovely. This is familial. This is security. This is connection. It's, hospitable. So this is all great. And we should see this as something creative, something warm, something nurturing, something lovely, and there may be something comforting for us in this. And there may be the desire for things comforting, all things comforting, whatever that means to you. Maybe it is about comfort food. That's the easiest place to go. You want your chocolate pudding, you want your mashed potatoes, you want your pancakes, whatever is the realm of comfort for you. And this is something very profoundly comforting because now we have 3 planets in the sign of Cancer. And it's only for a few days. It's only for a couple days. But it's still really lovely to experience this juiciness, right? So it's, again, time to reach out to people you love, time to connect with those who give you a warm familial feeling, time to gather together and do something maybe in a group that's, sharing and lovely. So this is something where Venus is getting ready to get out of the sign of Cancer. She's going to start moving into Leo, not for at least another week, but she's there and the moon is now there. This is a very rare occurrence. First of all, as we know, Jupiter doesn't go into Cancer but once every 12 years. Jupiter will experience the moon there once a month, but the fact that Venus is there right now and the moon is there with Jupiter and Venus, and it's going to conjunct each of them and everybody's together, this is not often something that happens. It could be that Venus goes into Cancer, meets Jupiter, and is on its way out by the time the moon is coming back in. And they don't spend a whole lot of time with each other, and they don't make the conjunctions they need to make. So it's really something special and loving and beautiful and heartwarming. So these are good energies. These are good energies that nurture us and give us a sense of belonging, which everybody needs. We need to feel like we belong to something, somewhere, to people. Even if you live alone, even if you don't have an animal and you're by yourself, you want to feel like you belong in something, in some familial setting. Maybe it's not family per se, but it could be your group of friends. It could be your astrology group. It could be your colleagues at work make you feel like you really belong. Maybe you're on a creative team. But this is so wonderful to experience and really restorative that I would say, do something for yourself too. Go take yourself out for a nice meal. Go get a massage. Go get, a nice new something or other for your home. Maybe you want a new plant for your home or something. But this is something warm and loving. So maybe you want a new kitten. Adopt a kitten. That's your family. This is really something that we don't get to experience very often, but I will tell you this. This is going to happen again next May and June because Jupiter is going to spend enough time in Cancer. Usually spends a year in a sign. But Venus is going to be moving fast because she's going to go retrograde the end of next year. And that means she will be spending more time quickly through the signs, and she's going to get to Cancer again. Interestingly enough, because this does not happen, she's going to get to Cancer again while Jupiter is still there. So this is special. So this is happening now, and we're going to get it like May 18th, 19th next year, where the three of them are going to be in the sign of Cancer again. And then Venus will eventually conjunct Jupiter again in Cancer in early June of next year. So you can see we're in August, right? And you see how much faster Venus moves next year. So we want to pay attention to this because this is something really yummy. So I like this, and I like that we're having it again next year, relatively not even a year from now. We're having it 10 months from now, 9 months from now. And we're going to be really experiencing this juicy feeling again next May and then early June. So this is great, and use this energy. Use it to reach out to friends. Use it wisely to do something sweet and wonderful for someone else, and bake cookies for someone you love. Cheer somebody up, or just be present for someone. And that's the joy of the sign of Cancer. Then, one of the other things that's happening this week, which is very important, is that the sun is leaving the sign of Leo. So we've had all these weeks with Lion's Gate portal and the sun getting revved up in Leo and having, new moons and full moons with Leo very present. And now this is the end. We're coming to the home stretch of the sign of Leo for this season. And that means that this Friday, the 22nd of August, the sun will enter the sign of Virgo. And that will be 4:34 p.m. Friday afternoon. Now, this is important because right after the sun enters the sign of Virgo, much later that day, that's 4:34 Eastern, but really wee hours of Saturday morning or late Friday night, if you are in the Pacific time zone, the moon will enter the sign of Virgo, which means we are having a new moon. And the new moon will be Saturday the 23rd, but in the wee hours, 2:07 a.m. at 0 degrees Virgo, 23 minutes. So not even halfway through the first degree of Virgo. So sun is going to enter Virgo, and boom, right away, new moon. Okay, so moon is going to enter, sun's going to enter, sun and then moon. And we're going to have this new experience of Virgo. So we're opening the door to Virgo. We are opening the door to a very new experience because right away there's a new moon. So this is all about setting intentions for a new moon in Virgo, a very sobering energy away from the highfalutin, glitzy glamour of Leo. However, this is good for health. This is good for organization. This is good for your work, your day-to-day schedule, and maybe shaking up your routine a little bit, maybe incorporating a new exercise protocol, a new diet, something like that. So that's, incorporating more vegetables into your diet. Virgo's all about those lovely things, because after we've partied and got lots of sunshine in Leo, we have to get back to, normal things with Virgo and take care of stuff. But Virgo isn't boring. Virgo really heals us. We do a lot of healing under the sign of Virgo, and that's always a good thing. Any kind of healing, emotional, physical, psychological, all the good healing happens in Virgo and Pisces, but they are opposite signs. Now, speaking of opposite signs, the next lunation after this one, and that's why this one's so important, is a lunar eclipse, which means that this new moon that's coming at 0 degrees, 23 minutes Virgo, is swinging the door open to the next eclipse period. So eclipses are on the way. Here we go. We are having the eclipse of September 7th. And so here we are getting ready for this jazzed up energy again, just when you thought it was safe to go into Virgo. Now it's going to be the Virgo Pisces full moon with the lunar eclipse in Pisces at 15 degrees, 23 minutes on Sunday, the 7th of September. We will be seeing each other. I will be in this podcast that day. And Mercury is involved in that eclipse, which makes lots of sense because Mercury will be in its own sign of Virgo at that point. This is very strong. This is the stronger of the two eclipses. So we want to be aware of this because, like I said, there's Virgo and there's Pisces, opposite signs. And so the sun will be in Virgo and the moon will be in Pisces. And that moon is going to be where the eclipse occurs, even though the sun is having the conjunction to Mercury, but it's moon with an opposition to Mercury. Okay, so there's some interesting dynamics going on at that eclipse. Mercury is often involved in eclipses, and the reason is Mercury travels very close to the sun. So we are going to see some, mercurial energy happening in the sign of Virgo while we are having this eclipse. Now, Mercury will not be retrograde, but we will be experiencing a lot of this North Node in Pisces, South Node in Virgo experience when we have this eclipse. And I have to say, this is a tricky thing because the sun is going to be in Virgo and it's going to be close to that South Node. And the moon is where, the moon is always where the eclipse occurs. If it's with the sun or opposite the sun, that's where the eclipse occurs, with the moon. And so it's lunar because it is a full moon, because they are in opposition. But this is interesting because the sun and the moon, the sun's going to be at that South Node, sort of bringing us into our narcissistic needs, into where old habits die hard, into, I've got to fulfill my ego, those kinds of things. And really the moon and Pisces is saying, no, darling, you have to trust. You can't be worried about your ego gratification in getting all the numbers straight, okay? You can't be worried about, getting all the details straight. You have to trust. You have to believe and trust in your future and what you are capable of and, in your ability to create something new. And Pisces is deeply creative. It's visionary. And so we want to think about the trust and the creativity rather than the calculations and the lack of trust, which is what happens when we have this configuration with the nodes. You see, Virgo loves the details. Virgo loves the experience of, doing the math and working it out and saying, this is the way, and following the rules, this is the way it's got to be, and being a little bit, of a nudge, let's just say, a nice nudge, Virgos are nice, a nice nudge, but also very self-critical. So we don't want the self-criticism. We don't want the experience of going over the same thing in our head over and over and over again. Mercury, Sun, South Node. Like, but I did the math, but I did this, but I did it right. No. You want to put your faith in something. And the eclipse is teaching us about where we need to put that faith right now and how we need to advance our faith and feel into our faith and connect with our faith in something greater than ourselves. Or depending, because it's Pisces, right? Depending on where that is. I mean, you could have the North Node right now and the eclipse could be showing up in your 8th house. And with the South Node in your 2nd house, right? And the sun and everything all in the 2nd house. Well, what would that look like? Well, that looks like, hey, you've got to stop counting your pennies, stop thinking about your money and how much money you're going to make, and think about the creative passion involved in whatever it is you're doing. That's what the North Node in the eighth house would talk about, right? With the eclipse at the North Node, it's saying you've got to trust in your creative process and your passion for what you're doing. That's what you want to believe in right now, okay? And so on and so forth through the zodiac, through the houses. So it's important to recognize this and watch as these energies show themselves around us in our lives. Our lives are going to be very much, shaken up by an eclipse because they always are. This is what eclipses do. So once we get into the eclipse period, which starts this coming Friday, Saturday, we are now in different territories. My teacher used to say, when you date a Pisces, you got to throw the book away. So when we have an eclipse in Pisces, we sure do need to throw the book away. If you want a mystical experience, well, then go do some meditations and tap into the mystical. That's a really good thing to do with an eclipse at the North Node in Pisces. But the North Node is in Pisces. That means the direction we're focused on and we're going to get the fulfillment is putting faith and trust in something outside of ourselves. Okay? Faith and trust in the creative dream, the vision, the experience of wherever that North Node and that eclipse are going to land in your life. And so this is important because we always want, this world teaches us, we always want to reach for the calculator, and we always want to reach for the tangible and for the 3D and what makes sense. This eclipse might not make sense. Okay? You have to find out where the faith is. You've got to find out where it's happening for you. And you can always come to me for an astrology session and we explore where the eclipse is happening to you and what's the fulfillment around this eclipse and what's the outpouring and what's the juicy outcome of this. It's the North Node. We don't have to let something go. We have to embrace what's new and embracing what's healing for us. And how does it feel? How does it feel? Not how am I thinking about it, Virgo. How am I feeling about it? Can I create something from my emotions, my feelings? And this is so much about where Pisces is and the vision you create for your life. What vision do you have for your life? This eclipse is really honoring that vision. And so the experience of honoring your vision is going to come for real. You're going to be tested. You're going to be tested because it's not all North Node, it's both sun and moon. This isn't what's happening. Something else is pulling us in the direction of the South Node, and that's the sun. And it's easier, I think, to have the eclipse happen at the North Node because at the South Node, it's like, oh my God, what have I been doing? We have to focus on what's fulfilling, what's taking us to the next level. And you will start to feel this once we open this door this coming weekend. And so I have to say, the usual eclipse information, which is don't start something new. If you want us to launch something this week, great. But not during that eclipse corridor of the 7th of September through the 21st, which is the second eclipse, which is going to be in Libra, and that's going to be a new moon closer to the South Node, but it's going to be out of sign. So we're not there yet. We'll get there. That's not for a while. That's not for at least another month or so. But what we're looking at is, the launching of something new in between the eclipses, the two eclipses, is really something not generally going to work out. It's like planting your seed in gravel. You don't want to do that. I have said this 1,000 times on this podcast. I've told you guys about this so many times. And if you're new to my podcast, you are hearing this for the first time maybe, but it's important to know that eclipses aren't great times for launching new things. So that's okay. It's a couple of weeks. You can wait, or you can do it before. Sometimes, I say, okay, I'm going to launch it anyway, before the eclipse, and I wait and see what happens. Last September, October, when we had eclipses, we were launching something with New Vision. We were launching the mini scan, and even though we did it after the eclipses, we were still doing all the programming and hired the programmer, and it was still a bit of a mess. And so I say, launch something now. Or, maybe you want to test something in the next couple weeks. And then when you're getting into the eclipses, it might be best to just rest it and feel into the energy and feel where you're going. Remember, it should be something under alignment. And of course, big companies, they launch things and they don't care. They don't look at this. They don't care about the astrology. They're just doing their business. And then usually later on they have to decide, well, maybe we have to discontinue that product, or maybe that just wasn't a good thing for us, or we need to relaunch. I saw something the Astro Twins posted about ChatGPT 5 was launched during Mercury retrograde, and they were like, well, we're taking it back and we'll relaunch it later. And they were like, of course, of course they should have relaunched it, because whatever happened, there must have been something that was, I don't know, but I think it's still around. I think ChatGPT 5 is still around. Anyway, the other thing is that the one thing you really don't want to do is start a new relationship between eclipses. It's just, there's unnecessary chaos. Why would you do that? If you don't want unnecessary chaos in your new relationship, wait. You can't say, oh God, I met someone and we're starting to talk and everything. Well, good. Then take it slowly. Just be friends, and then maybe see what happens when the eclipse period is over. People don't want me to tell them this. Nobody wants me to tell them this. They want it now, so they're going to keep on going and seeing people and doing things. And, well, you can see people, just don't take it seriously. Have fun. You can't even make plans. You're going to say, somebody invites you to something. Oh, come, yeah, we're going to do this, ba-ba. And you go and no, it's not happening. It's not happening. We're not doing it. And, we're going to take a trip. Let's take that trip. And I'm talking about, this doesn't have to be in the eclipse period. You could have someone say, let's go to Spain for vacation, la, la, la. Okay, but it's between the eclipses that they're suggesting it. You aren't planning it yet. And they go, let's do it, ba, ba, ba. Let's go at Christmas time. It'll be a nice time. It'll be warmer. Okay. And then it falls apart because you started it during 2 eclipses. My friend in Houston has a Healy device. A couple of years ago, she said to me, oh, hey, she was moving. She's like, I found, as I was packing up my house to move, she said, I found a Healy, brand new. They give me them for selling them, because she's in Healy. And she said, do you want one? I said, yeah, sure, send it to me. She said, okay, when I get to my new house and stuff, I'll send it to you. Do you know that I've never seen that Healy? She said this during an eclipse 2 years ago. She said this during an eclipse. Now it's getting to be maybe 2.5 years ago. She told me it was the spring eclipses in 2023. And she's like, yeah, I'll get you a Healy. Well, so many problems happened between the construction and everything else that I said to her, I think it was December, hey, did you ever find that Healy? She said, no, it's up in a box in my attic and I haven't unpacked it yet. So there are unpacked boxes sitting upstairs that she moved with, and there's been no Healy. So I haven't seen it. This is what I mean. You can't make plans. So it's very funny. Somehow I may see it one day, but and then sometimes you get a new job under the eclipse, and by the time the next eclipses come, you don't have that job anymore. So you really do need to be aware of what you're starting, what you're working with, and the energies that we're handling during eclipses. So this is a primer on eclipses because it's coming soon. They are coming soon, and like I said, this new moon is great for health-related things, a new exercise protocol, starting a diet, changing your vitamins up, seeing a new practitioner, great for new things like that. And I would say this is great. Take advantage of this time. And even if you're seeing a practitioner on Monday the 25th, then that's fine, that's good. And you're still in that new moon energy, and we're still not in eclipse period. I don't know. See, this is another thing I wouldn't do. I wouldn't start a new relationship with a new doctor in a Virgo eclipse. Virgo Pisces. I wouldn't do that. So I would say, you might go to them, but you might not go back. Okay, you're like, ugh, I wasted my money. I don't like them. They're not good for me. So this is the eclipse primer. We're getting close to that period. I'm going to talk about it more in these next weeks. That's what we have to start focusing on and being aware of. You'll feel the energy shift. We always feel the energy shift. So I want you to just start working on, your plans around it and, your intentions for this new moon. This new moon happens at 0 degrees Virgo. That means it also affects 15 degrees cardinal. And so that would be 15 degrees of Cancer, 15 degrees of Capricorn, 15 degrees of Libra or Aries. And what do we have at 15 degrees of cardinal? Well, we have Jupiter. So, and it'll be like 16 when the new moon occurs. So we are really having a trigger to Jupiter under this new moon in Virgo. So that's important. Let's see how that plays out. The moon will be finished with Cancer, obviously, because it's going to be in Virgo, but it's a really important new moon for that reason as well, because it's going to trigger Jupiter. And so Jupiter is giving us abundance, expansion, as always, something nurturing, something exalted, something powerful and abundant right now. And so I would say this has got something to do with this new moon. This new moon could be really abundant. So I would set some big intentions for this because it's wrapped up in this new moon. Okay? So this is something great. I would really love to see us expand good things as a result of this new moon because it's involved with Jupiter. It's triggering that juicy Jupiter. So happy days. This is going to be very interesting and kind of powerful, So I feel like this is a good new moon. I don't have a bad feeling about the eclipse either. Let's see, sometimes we have a really good, peaceful, lovely eclipse and good things happen on it. And then you're feeling good and you're like, oh, this eclipse period is a breeze. And then you get to the second one and you're like, oh my God, what happened? So I would say enjoy this Jupiterian new moon. And, we have, it's a semi-square. That's what we call that. And that's why I'm saying it's like halfway through a cardinal sign. It's at 15 degrees cardinal. So this is, 16 Jupiter at 16 Cancer is fine. That's a trigger for sure. Absolutely. And I would bet that there's something really big and possibly very special going to happen along with this new moon. So it's special. It's good. We do know that this is going to give us some very juicy energy, and this is all going to square the planet Uranus. Yeah, I'm saving that best one for last in this discussion. The sun is going to square Uranus in Gemini at 3:15 a.m. on Sunday the 24th. That's Eastern time. So that we are very early in Gemini with the planet Uranus. It's only just right now. It's barely in the sign. It's 1 degree, not even 1.5. It's like right now as I'm sitting here, it's 1 degree. And then Friday, it'll be like 1 degree, 22 minutes. It's early. So this new moon is going to square Uranus. This is going to be fun. It's going to make this semi-square to Jupiter and then make this square to Uranus. So this is going to be some wild new moon energy, and it opens the eclipse period. Ta-da! We are having some wild stuff here. Okay, get your intentions in order, your manifestations. What wild thing do you want to come out of nowhere and pleasantly surprise you? Uranus and Jupiter. So this is big, and we've got the new moon occurring at 2:07 a.m., as I mentioned, on Saturday, the 23rd, on Eastern time zone, and then the moon will square Uranus at 3:57 a.m., which is really only a couple hours later, and hopefully if you're in this time zone, you'll get some sleep. The lucky ones are the Europeans and the Australians that's going to get it during a time of the day that it makes sense for them, when they're having their coffee or something. And, they're going to have a different experience of it. Here we might not sleep. So that moon will square Uranus, and then the sun will square Uranus on Sunday. So it's a very close aspect to Uranus, both Saturday from the moon and Sunday from the sun. That's 3:15 a.m. Also, I don't know if we're going to have a very restful weekend next weekend. So get lots of sleep this week, because this is big energy, big between Jupiter and Uranus. This is powerful. So I will see you again next Sunday, and we are going to have discussions about what this new moon brought. And I will have stories for what this new moon has brought in for people. That Lionsgate energy is still with us. I can still feel that manifestation stuff happening. And, use this week of Leo energy to still set forth something new and creative for yourself, okay? Venus isn't in Leo yet. Venus is going into Leo Monday the 25th, and that's great, considering that we're going to go into Virgo then. We're going to be getting into Virgo, and Venus will be able to extend that level of creativity for us in that process. So if you want to talk to me about this and where the eclipses are happening for you, because it is generally very important to see where they are happening for you, I would suggest you set up a session with me and connect with me, thegoldenastrologer.com. You click book online, you can set up an astrology session. If you need other support as far as like maybe Reiki, maybe some clearing of obstacles during this new moon, then you can come with me and join me for that. And then, emotional clearing I do with New Vision. I also do mentoring, expansion mentoring, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. And let's see if you'd like to join me. Let's see how we can work through this together, these weeks of eclipses, months of eclipses, and how I can help you with all the tools in my toolkit, because I have lots of different NLP tools. I have my New Vision system. I have all my tools to help you in the mentoring space. So if you'd like that, if you're interested, if you just want to know more about it, connect with me, and you can write to me, info@thegoldenastrologer.com or deb@debmcbride.com, and I'm on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer. Thank you so much for listening. Have a beautiful week. Back next Sunday to talk about all of this juicy energy. Enjoy the 3 planets in Cancer, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Enjoy the new moon in Virgo, triggering Jupiter and Uranus. At first I was looking at this and I'm saying, this isn't such a big, crazy week. And then the more I got into it, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. This is wild energy. This is intense. So love to each and every one of you. Gratitude to each and every one of you. Have a blessed week. See you next Sunday, and see you on the internet during the week.